Hi, Fiber friends, and welcome to Fiber and Floral, a mostly knitting podcast. I'm really excited to chat with you guys today. I have lots of projects, lots of finished objects, lots of whips, lots of some sewing, lots of knitting to show you, and I'm so chuffed to be here and just show you what I have. If you're new here, my name is Becca. I am a bilingual educator living with my family in Berlin, Germany. I'm originally from the States, but I moved here almost 10 years ago, met my husband, and yeah, got a job working in a first and second grade classroom. And we just absolutely love living here. We find the community to just be incredible. And Berlin is just such a lively, wonderful city. It's so easy to live here. And now, yeah, it's quickly become a home for us. So, yeah, welcome. I'm really glad you're here. Grab some knitting, grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab some water because I always forget that this time of year. And yeah, let's settle in. Start quickly showing you one of the Christmas presents I got. It is the Yarnitecture by Jillian Moreno. I believe one of you recommended her to me. She is like the spinning queen. She is such an expert, and I've watched so many talks with her since one of you recommended her, and I got her book to for Christmas. And then actually a few days before Christmas, one of my friends called me and was like, "Oh, we were watching." So we have like a family movie evening every Friday night, and we were sitting on the couch, and I get a call from a friend, and I was like, "Oh, we're watching a movie. I'll call him back after." And then he calls my husband, and my husband's like, "All right, I'll answer." And he's like, "Where are you? Are you at home?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" And he was like, "I'll be there in 10 minutes." And I was like, "Why? Why?" And he's like, "I have a spinning wheel for you. I'll be there." And so he'd mentioned this to me before, but he just popped over one Friday and brought me this antique spindle that his sister had. It is from the 80s and is fully functional. It just needs a new belt, which I haven't got. I haven't really even touched this besides just like be like, "Oh, it's so pretty." So it is a authentic vintage spinning wheel from the DDR, and she has actually 3 of these. So she was like, "Yeah, absolutely, give it to your friend." And I am so excited to use it. I think it's gonna be fan. It also just looks really pretty sitting in my room. I've used it a lot as like a photo prop, but I do plan to buy a new belt for it, and I just need to. It's probably gonna be one of those like when I'm on vacation and have the mental space to deal with it. But I'm so excited. It's just like a piece of history that I got from a friend. So thank you, Johannes. He does not watch this, but I'm just I'm honored at his thoughtfulness to my family and me. So yeah, just wanted to share that with you because that was 2 things that I acquired over Christmas in terms of spinning. And but today I'm just going to be chatting with you, talking about what's on my needles, what I finished. It's been a very slow January. Um, I woke up on New Year's Day and realized that I had the flu. We actually had my best friend spend the night before to like avoid the crazy fireworks. And I woke her up with like a mask on. I was like, "You need to go home." um, but yeah, we've basically been sick one after another. My kids have actually been home this week with RSV, which is like a respiratory virus. Their whole daycare has been closed actually. So I've got lots of knitting done because we've basically just been stuck inside our house the whole month. But it's a good time of year for that. It's quite gray. It's quite miserable. We haven't gotten any snow this year really. But it's actually been nice to kind of don't know, cuddle up inside. But all that to say, I have lots to talk about. And I will start with probably one of my favorite makes. And this is my Christmas Eve cast on. I started these on Christmas Eve and finished them on December 5th. So like I intentionally finished them through the 12 days of Christmas, and they are really dirty because I have worn them a lot. And it is the Indoorsy Sock by Sonder Yard Co. This is a fingering weight plus mohair sock. So it's knit on 3mm needles, and it has got a 2x2 rib with a heel flap and gusset, and then you have stockinette on the underfoot, and you keep the ribbing on the overfoot. And I just love these. It's also a free pattern, and it has 2 or 3 different cup options. So it is a workhorse. It is incredible. If you've watched the podcast before, you know how I feel about rib socks. I love how they just to your feet and fit perfectly. And I just love them. I always forget the name of this. Malabrio Sock Yarn. I bought this in Baltimore at Black Sheep Yarn Company, which is probably one of my favorite yarn stores in Baltimore. It is just a beautiful speckled yarn. And then I combined it with a mohair that I had on hand, which was Drops Kids Silk, and it was like a light cloud gray. And it just created this really stunning, like softly speckled yarn. And then I was worried that I wasn't going to have enough mohair, so I actually did the heel and toes in a purple that I had on hand as well. And that actually, I love how this purple turned out. Like, I didn't change the yarn, just the mohair. And I think that's so interesting how like it almost looks like a completely different yarn. And this will come up because I actually love this combination so much that I used my leftovers for a current project that I'm working on. So I'll show you that in a second. But I love these. As soon as I finished these, we had like a really cold front come through where it was like negative degrees for a while, and these kept my feet so warm. I think I wore them every day that week, and it was just, absolutely wonderful. I love these. I plan to knit more mohair socks. They were so fast, so quick, and they are so cozy. I cannot say enough about this pattern. Absolutely lovely. It's free. It's very beginner friendly, and definitely more to come in the future. My next finished object is actually what I'm wearing. I forgot to mention it before in the video, but I'll just do it now. It is actually this simple white turtleneck. I went on a basics kick also over the holidays and sewed a couple undershirts and just t-shirts that I needed. I found this fabric at one of my favorite online sewing stores, Stoff.de, and it's just got a really nice little texture. And then I actually hacked 2 patterns I have just to get this simple turtleneck. I used my favorite t-shirt pattern, and then I had a turtleneck, but it had like a cutout right here. And I didn't really want I wanted this to just like be a simple basic piece. So I hacked my favorite t-shirt pattern, the Orlando pattern, with that pattern whose name I can't remember, but I'll post it here. And there are lots more turtleneck patterns that I would recommend. If you're interested, I would just buy a simple one, but I didn't want to spend money. And this is what I came up with, and I'm really happy with it. I'll post a picture of me wearing it so you can see it better, but it's actually made me wear a lot of other pieces that I have. Like, I've worn my movie vest a lot more recently because I have an undershirt, like a better undershirt for it, and it goes with a pinafore I also made over Christmas break and a couple other sweaters and vests. So I'm really happy with it. It's a great layering piece, and I think that's the good thing about basics, is that it really helps you wear the other pieces in your wardrobe more, I find. The only thing is, and I knew this when I bought this fabric, I bought it intentionally to make this turtleneck, is that the recovery of the knit because of this lovely little lace pattern isn't the best. And so after 1 or 2 wears, like as you can see, this just came out of the washer. I've only had it on about an hour or 2, and it's already a little, I don't know, what's the word? It's already losing its shape a little bit. So it's definitely something that I will have to wash more. I don't know longevity wise how long it will last like that. Maybe I'll have to add some knit stabilizer into it or decrease it a little bit, but it's a great basic piece. I'm really happy with it, and I love like the simple texture that just kind of elevates a basic just a little bit. Yeah, and then like I mentioned, this is my Moby vest that I made a couple years ago. I actually wanted to be more fitted, but because I made this in, I believe it's like a viscose wool blend, it's just grown a lot and it's quite oversized, even though I sized down to maybe a size 1 in the petite knit patterns. But yeah, you live and learn. I've learned that viscose does tend to grow. Viscose blends do tend to grow a lot more. So yeah, but I've been wearing it a lot. It's just a great throw on layering piece, especially now that I have this basic. So that's what I'm wearing, and also one of my finished objects. My next finished object is actually my first time knitting with my hand spun. And I made a Sophie scarf for my daughter. I got this fiber, it's a merino blend from a lovely yarn shop as well as Baltimore, which is where I took a spinning class. And at that spinning class, she taught me how to do suspended long draw. And so I thought it would be nice using the fiber to try suspended long draw. And I only got 100 grams of it. It has this really nice sparkle. I don't know if you can see that, but I actually ran out of yarn at that end a little bit. But it has this really nice sparkle. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I knew my daughter would love this. It's just so fun. I forget, I believe the color is called Jazzercise, which I think is just fantastic. And basically I bought 100 grams, and what I did was I measured it with my weight and knit to like 48 grams and then started doing the decreases. It's definitely not as big as a Sophie scarf should be. It's probably only about half the size, but my daughter, as a 5-year-old, this is the perfect size for her. We double wrap it around her neck, tie it a little knot, and that's how she wears an undercoat. And it's really nice. I've also stolen it a couple times. My big puffy winter coat is about this teal color, and so it's really nice. And yeah, it was I learned a lot knitting with my hand spun. Because it was long draw, and it was my first full time doing suspended long draw, which is a harder technique than just like a short forward draw. You're actually like holding the yarn back and the yarn is pulling itself into the spindle, and it's very uneven, but I kind of learned how little you can tell. Like there are definitely some spots that are a lot thinner or a lot thicker, but overall when you're wearing it, you can't tell. It just looks really fun. And so that's also just a good message for me, like not to stress if it's not perfect yarn. Once you knit it up, it's going to keep your neck warm anyways. So yeah, that is basically a modified Sophie Shawl. And I just love the stripe pattern. It's just very funky and perfect for my 5-year-old. So she's really happy with it. And she wore it out over Christmas break to visit a museum with some of our friends. I found out one of her little Kita friends' mom is like an art restorer. Like she restores paintings for a historical museum, for the Deutsches Historisches Museum here. So we went to see one of her exhibits that she specifically helped restore some of the paintings in there. It was targeted for kids, showing what life was like in the 1600s in Augsburg, Germany. And it was so cool. But anyways, I digress. She wore this scarf and was like telling her little friend, like, my mom made this and blah, blah, blah. Like she kept trying to like explain it, but she didn't know the German words for like knitting and spinning. And so it was really cute. Like her kind of like bilingual way of explaining to her friend was just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. I don't care about some scarf that you're wearing. But it was really cute and she was really happy with it. So yeah, my next finished object, and this is going to be kind of hard to show you because it is a dress, but I had some leftover lightweight wool from a skirt I made a couple years ago. And since I was going through my fabric stash, and there's a free pattern or a pay-as-you-go pattern that I've been wanting to try from Peppermint. It is the Peppermint Milton Pinafore. If you're aware of Peppermint patterns, they used to be free and now they're pay what you want. So it's recommended that you pay something, but you can still get the pattern for free if you sign up for their newsletter. I just didn't pay anything this time. I have paid in other times, but this is a Milton Pinafore. It has like a very, very deep V on the front. It's designed to be worn under things like I wore this under it in pictures. I'll try to post a picture of me wearing it. And then it actually has a midi skirt, but I chopped it to be a mini because of the lightweight wool. It's a simple A-line. And then in the back, it has buttons, a button band, and the Pinafore has these little crosses. And I had just enough wool left to do this. I actually had to do some cotton for the backing, but I actually think that makes it look really lovely. Pattern was just so well done. It has been a while since I have sewed a pattern with instructions that were this well done. So Peppermint Patterns doesn't actually come up with the patterns themselves. They collaborate with an independent designer. I believe they pay them money and then they publish it on their website, in their magazine. It's an Australian magazine. And so the woman who designed it was Just Patterns, and I actually went and followed her on Instagram because her instructions were wonderful. The pattern was so thoughtful. Even like if you're doing a lining on a bust, it's good to have the lining a little bit smaller than the outer garment so that there's this little line so like the lining doesn't peek out. And she just had all these thoughtful touches for a pattern that is pay what you want or free. It was really, really well done. So I can definitely recommend this pattern. It's also great to hack if you have a different size chest and a different size waist. So I think I sewed a size 36 in the chest and a 38 or a 40 in the waist. So a great pattern if you're in between sizes, like most bodies are. There's very few people who are just a straight size all the way down their body. So yeah, this is a great, easy pattern to hack and a really simple sew, honestly. I think a beginner could absolutely do this. And yeah, it looks adorable on, and a different, like I think if I had to pay for the pattern or the fabric, I might not have tried it. It's a little bit outside of like what I typically wear. But because the fabric was stash, there was very little I could make with it. I already had a skirt out of this fabric. I'll try to show you before I forget. It has this beautiful like burgundy mauve tweed, and it's just beautiful. It is from Fabric Baron, which I believe in the Netherlands, and they're going out of business on the 31st. I'm really sad about it because I really love them for like affordable quality fabrics, especially wools. But they are going into retirement and weren't able to sell their store. So sadly they are leaving. But yeah, so I already had a skirt out of this. And so I decided, yeah, Pinafore was the time, and I'm really happy about it. It's really lovely. And I hope I can wear this and it'll maybe encourage me to wear it more in the future. And then my last finished object, is the Brighton Beanie by My Dear Puppet. This is a pattern by my dear friend Angie. You've probably heard me talk about this before if you're not new here, because I've knit probably 6 or 7 of these in the last year. It is a fingering weight beanie, and then it is cast on. It's a folded band, and then you fold it up and then you do the decreases. Very simple construction. I love the finished product though. It also, I think for a baby hat, I've knit mostly for babies or kids. You only use 23 grams for a newborn size. So it's a great stash buster. If you just have like something 23, if you just have like half a skein of fingering weight yarn laying around. But I actually used some lovely hand-dyed sock yarn from the Mindful Creators. This is her colorway S'mores from her Campfire collection that came out last fall. When she announced her Campfire collection last fall, I was waiting. Like, I was sitting there being like, I know there's going to be a S'mores. There's got to be a S'mores colorway. And there was. And I just love how it knit up. I was really worried about color pulling, but I just knit it. I didn't ever like have to do anything. There might be a couple spots where the colors pulled, but overall, I think it just turned out so well, and I'm really happy with it. The only modification I made was because like the hipster beanie right now is in, where like it's like a little bit more, it's a little bit more fluff up top. I did knit it 4 centimeters longer than the pattern calls for, but she like mentions this in her pattern. She's like, if you want it to be longer and be more like, what's the word, drapey? Drapey's not the right word. If you want it to be a little longer, 4 centimeters is her recommended added length. And I did that, and I really like it a lot. I've worn it under my bike helmet because it's so thin, but I still want some protection for my ears when I'm biking. And it's like the perfect weight that it keeps my ears warm, especially like the double folded brim, but it's light enough on top where like the heat can still get through. And I don't feel like I'm like sweating my brains out, which is what happens when I try to wear like a mohair hat on my bike. The only thing that is I do like this and how it looks, but when I'm on my helmet, like I didn't think about when my helmet is on, like it kind of like has a tendency to like come down, and so I've had to like push it up out of my eyes occasionally. So basically I've just started like kind of like intentionally folding it back and being careful with how I place my helmet on my head. But that being said, I don't know if I would do anything different. It's just something to think about if you're doing hats with the intention of like wearing them under your bike helmet. But yeah, I love this pattern. It's just such a great little winter hat, and it actually didn't take that long. It took me a while to cast it on because it's fingering weight, and I was like, oh, it's gonna take me forever, blah blah blah, I don't want to do this. But I do need some more hats. I only have 1 hat at the moment, or now I have 2. And yeah, with winter coming up, I did want something a little more. I wanted a few more hats to add this year, but it actually only took me like a week or 2. It's a great, just like, it's just stockinette all the way, and it went out so fast, just knitting on the go. And yeah, so those are all my finished objects for the month. I'm really happy with how it wound up. Just beautiful. I'm trying to decide what to do with my leftovers. I also wanted to ask. So I got the sock set, which means it also came with, I believe this is called Campfire, like a mini skein. And I'm thinking about going back and adding like a little quilt star, like I think it's called the Ohio star, like duplicate stitching it on there just to like add like a little thing on the front with orange. Or I have like My Dear Puppets. I have like a label for her I could add. I think Petite Knit has a similar one for like the Oslo hat. So I could do that, or do we like it without? That's something I wanted to ask. Like, I have this color. I also have like a mauve purple I could duplicate stitch on. This is what I'm leaning towards, but we'll see. I would need to work out, like, I don't have a motif of a Ohio star, so I would need to figure that out. But I think duplicate stitching doesn't take very long. So the other thing is I'm trying to figure out what to do with the rest of this. Do I make a matching sock? That would be cute, like a little stripy sock. Do I make some matching like fingerless gloves? I don't know, but I love this, and I would love to add like a matching component using the rest of the yarn. So yeah, let me know if you have any ideas. I think these colors are really beautiful together. I would love to use this winter. So that is the Brighton Beanie. It's so floppy. The Brighton Beanie. Okay, my first whip is the one I've really been looking forward to showing you. It is the Colorwork Sweater of my dreams, the one that I've been talking about for a long time, just putting in my yarn. It is the Rundt Dalen by Kristin Wiola Odegard, or in English, the Around the Valley sweater. It is available in her ebook, A Year of Cardigans, which is only available on her website. I think it's Kristin Wiola. She has a lot of other patterns in Danish that you can buy separately, but most of her English patterns are only available in the PDF, which is quite a hefty price. I think I paid around $30 US for it, but I knew I would want to knit more than one of the sweaters. And it is just stunning. It is traditional Norwegian stranded color work, and it is just, the colorwork sweater of my dreams. It's just beautiful. One of my goals last year was to learn colorwork. And so to kind of go off of that goal, I wanted to try an all over colorwork sweater, which has brought up some challenges for sure. But I'm happy to show you like a piece that is on the way to being done. I started this on New Year's Eve. It is a bottom up sweater. No, it's a bottom up cardigan. You do in the round and then you steek it and add the button band. I am modifying it to do top down sweater. But I started it bottom up. I did a gauge swatch in stockinette and forgot that I am such a loose colorwork knitter that I did 30 centimeters of the body and then tried it on, and it was like 10 inches too big. My colorwork was so loose. So I ripped it all out. It was really painful. I cried. I had a beer and I ripped it out, made my husband sit beside me, and decided that this was a good opportunity to do top down. I was going to try bottom up, but even as I was doing it, I was like, I don't like this. I don't know how it's going to look with a yoke, blah, 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 blah. So I did top down, and I'm actually really, really glad I did, because I'm very picky with like where sweaters hit me. And I wanted to have time. I wanted to know how the whole sweater was going to look up top and like before I chose the length. So I'll post a video here to the side so you can see where it is on my body. My big thing, I've kind of stopped knitting it for the last 2 days because I wanted to get some advice about what you guys think. And I'm worried now about like when to start the bottom colorwork section. So I'm doing the fleece stitch right now, which is these little dots. And then the bottom colorwork section is basically a mirror image of this section right here. So like upside down triangles, this 1 by 1, the X's, and this diamond section, and then you start the ribbing. So there's I don't want it to be like really long. I'm quite petite. I'm 150 centimeters or like 5'1". So I don't want it to be like down to my knees, but I also want to make sure that like the fleece stitch feels proportional on my body. And there's not many projects on Ravelry. I think there's 20, 30 projects. And I'm just, a lot of them do have quite long sections, and I think have longer sweaters than what I would typically wear. So I'm trying to balance, like, I really like short sweaters. I often wear them cropped to my waist so I could wear with high-waisted jeans or skirts. I knew going into this that it was going to be a longer sweater, which is fine. But I'm just struggling with like how much I want it, how long I want it to be. Right now it's basically come to my waist, and I think I'm going to go basically to my belt, and then I'll have like that much. So it'll hit at like my lower hip, right at like the widest point of my hip. And then I can always do like a millennial tuck. But yeah, I don't know. That's like thinking out loud right now. What do you guys think? I would love your thoughts. The yarn I'm using is BC Garn by Samilla by BC Garn in the color Jeans, or I think it's number 25. It is a lovely blue. Like every time I try this on, I just love this color on me. I want to buy all this yarn. It is stunning. It is a sport weight yarn, and to make gauge, I'm actually doing 3mm needles. And I also am quite surprised by how soft it is. Like, it feels really incredible. This is absolutely a yarn that I would knit for my kids. It's really soft. I've done a lot of baby merino from drops for my kids, which is also a sport weight. However, this might become my sport weight yarn of choice for myself and also for my kids. It's so soft. They will have no problems wearing this. And I also really love all of their yarn is organic. They have a commitment to sustainability, and they're also, I believe, fair trade, and are produced in Europe. So this is definitely a yarn and a company that I would use in the future and have really enjoyed knitting this up. Full transparency, I was gifted this yarn by them back in November. However, that does not change my opinions of them. Nothing was required of me. I didn't even have to knit it up. Like, I could knit it whenever. But I'm really enjoying this yarn. It would absolutely buy from them again. So that is the Rundt Dalen, or Around the Valley Sweater by Kristin Wiola Odegard. And I'm so happy. I can't wait to wear it. My next WIP, which is half of a finished object, are the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. This is a free pattern, and it's great because it's a fantastic, like, I've never knit mittens before. It's a very beginner-friendly knitting pattern, and it comes in multiple weights. So there's a fingering weight, DK weight, worsted weight, and I believe another one. Like, I think there's 3 or 4. There's at least 3 gauges, and I think there's 4 gauges in there that you can follow. I actually, even though there's so many gauges, I did a fingering weight plus mohair blend, which is the same as my sock. I liked the purple together so much. I went out and bought some Knitting for All of purple. This was over the holidays, so I still have not bought yarn this year. Yes, I did go out and buy Knitting for All of, like, December 30th, knowing that I was doing no buying, but only one skein, because I wanted to make myself some mittens. And so I combined the Malabrio yarn that I used for my sock with Knitting for All of mohair in, like, a lavender, I think is the color. And it's just, oh, I love how it looks so much. But it ended up, because I thought it would be more of a DK weight gauge, but when I knitted up on 3.5mm needles, it's more of a sport weight. So I kind of have modified the pattern. Even though my hand, when I measure it, is the size of a small, I actually followed instructions for the medium, and it fits perfectly. So if you also have a sport weight yarn, it's definitely worth playing around with, like, sizing to get the fit that you want. And then I made a modification where I added, like, ribbing, and then I went back, picked up half the stitches, and then followed the instructions to finish the mittens. This is because like I've mentioned a lot, I bike to work through winter, and literally, like, halfway through my bike ride, at the same point, I'll stop at this one stoplight that I always get stopped at, and I'll take off my gloves. But then my hands are like this awkward, they're warm, but they're cold. And so even though it would have been easier to just knit simple mittens, I don't have any convertible gloves. And this has been a relatively easy hack. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm already knitting them. Just add this really quickly and it will be worth it. Yeah, I'm really, really glad I did, because even as I was biking to work yesterday, I got to that point and was like, you know what? No, I made a good choice, because it was just so much easier to just, like, flip them back, keep the gloves on, and continue biking. So, and even just, like, as I'm out on the yard with my class, to be able to, like, help kids and not have to take off my gloves. On that note, another question I have for you guys is the thumb. My kids also have convertible gloves that I did not make, because they will lose them by the end of the month. On their convertible gloves, the thumb is actually not fully knitted. It's just, the only option is to have this, like, cuff on the thumb. I went ahead and did my whole thumb, but it does feel weird with, like, my fingers out in my thumb. So I'm wondering if I should just do go back and like do the cuff or do the ribbing instead of knitting the whole thumb, and then just have the convertible glove with the ribbing. What are your thoughts? Like, it works for like, I might go back and do that now that I'm like hearing myself talk, because on my bike as well, like my thumb is in the back, and so it doesn't really get the wind the same way my fingers do. And I guess I can always, if my hands are really cold, I could always like tuck my thumb inside and like not. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go remove that and just do the thing. That makes sense. If I were to knit these, like, I mean, I know I'm about to knit a second one. I have not started the second one. Um, but if I were to knit these again, I would probably knit another centimeter before starting the decreases. But that's just a live and learn. Although they might, I'm hoping that it does block a little bit. You can probably tell I'm pulling them a little bit because it is a little short. But I'm hoping with blocking, I can make up that centimeter. But if I knit these again, I would knit a centimeter longer. So yeah, those are my world's simplest mittens, my first pair of mittens with a matching sock. And I just love them so much. They're going to be really great, really fun, and very practical. But yeah, let me know what you think about the thumb. I might go ahead and start the other mitten and think about it and wait till I like finish the thumb. And then I'll have one where the thumb's not done but the mitten is, and then I'll compare what I'm feeling. But let me know if you have a strong opinion. Then my last WIP, if you've stayed with me this long, this is probably the thing that I'm most excited about. That's not true. My sweater is also really exciting, but this is like anyways, I'm excited about all my projects, is the Grid Gambit Shawl by Samantha Guerin. I started this last night with the cowl that the Botanical Knitter officially started last night. I wanted to go, there was like a big like Zoom party, but it was at like 2 a.m. our time, and my kids have been sick all week, and I was like, I can't lose any more sleep. But I did cast it on last night at 8 p.m. my time, and yeah, I've already finished the first chart. It's going so fast. This is very much an addicting knit. I think this is going to take me no time at all. I'm using my hand spun, which is a lovely Falkland blend wool. Fun facts, Falkland is not actually a type of sheep. It is all sheep that live on the Falkland Islands, which can be a multitude of breeds, anywhere from Merino to Corriedale to Romney, and then they kind of just like mix them all together, and that is what you get when you see like Falkland wool. It is so soft. I mean, Merino is the most abundant sheep on the island, I believe, or the majority sheep on the island. But it is just so incredibly soft. So it has the softness of Merino, but it's just a tad bit stickier or grippier than a normal Merino. This was a delight to spin up. I bought this from a woman on Etsy. I just went on Etsy. I was looking for natural fiber dyers in Germany, and I found a woman called Dornröschen, which is who's the princess who pricks her finger on the spinning wheel? Is that Sleeping Beauty? Yes, it is Sleeping Beauty in English. And this is the color Rosewood. It has like some creams and like rosy, rusty pinks. And then it has some light like mocha browns. And it is just beautiful. It's a lot more subtle than I think I like. When I got the skein, it was just stunning. But it does spin up a little more like subtle than I was picturing. But I love it. And I love how it looks with my contrast yarn. See, you can it's hard to tell. Like, I feel like you don't really notice it from far away, but up close, you can kind of see how it's shifting from like a light dusty pink to the white and creams. And I think it's just going to be beautiful on me. I'm really happy with it. And the grid is just so cool. Like, so cool how this knits up. So if you're not familiar with the Grid Gambit Cowl, it is a cowl that is worked flat in kind of like an upside down pentagon shape. And then it does mosaic Colorwork to get the grid effect. It's super easy. I've never done mosaic before, mosaic colorwork before, but it's basically just like you slip these stitches. You don't knit. Instead of like on the pink row, you don't knit these stitches, you just slip them so the purple kind of comes up. It's so easy. If you're kind of scared of colorwork, this would be a great way. Like, I don't even want to call it colorwork because you're just slipping a stitch. It's so easy. It's just one of those like really addicting knittings. Like I cast this on last night and I just like didn't stop. It is so fun to knit. I'm gonna finish this so quickly. And then my main color is Alpaca 2 from Isire yarn, which I bought in Copenhagen while I was there with my family this past Christmas or this past summer. And it's just got this, I think it's the color Sky. It's like a dusty purple, like kind of at twilight, and it's got some blues and some pinks. It's just got this subtle change of color. It's so soft. Alpaca is just lovely to have around your neck. And these two yarns together, like I wish you could reach out and feel this. It's so soft. I would use both of these fibers again. I will definitely be ordering more from the Etsy shop Dornrosian if you're in Germany and are interested in spinning. I bought 2 or 3 fibers from her and they're all stunning. I'll show you, I'll be spinning those up over the next few months. You'll definitely see them. But this Falkland wool is so soft. And with the alpaca together, since it's going to be like really tight around my neck as a cowl, I think I chose really well. And I'm really excited about it. The only thing is that my gauge is a little off. I'm using 4mm needles because my gauge with 4.5mm needles was just way too loose. And it's a cowl and I want to wear it during winter. So I did use 4mm. My stitch count meets gauge. My row count is way off. And so I think that's going to be interesting because it is knit, like row count is important because it is a select number of stitches and it does affect the weight of the width of the scarf going around my neck. So it's something I'm going to watch for. I'm hoping, some of the project is in, like the pink rows are knit in garter. And so it will stretch when blocked a little bit, but it's something I'm going to watch for. However, looking at the pictures, I think I would want my cowl to be a little bit tighter around my neck than some of the pictures. It's hanging down and I would want it up where it could actually like keep my face and my neck warm. So I think if it's just a little bit tighter than what's intended, I think it will be okay. But it's something I'm definitely going to watch out for and see what happens. So cross your fingers for me. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm putting everything else on pause and I'm probably just going to knit this all weekend. It makes me so happy. So yeah, those are all my whips. If you've made it this far, I also want to show you what I've been reading, or I also want to talk about what I've been reading because they're very nitty little books. I am trying to read around 75 books this year, I'm trying to listen to 75 books this year. I do read a lot of books, but probably 90% of them are Audible. If I'm knitting or on the train or biking to work, I've always got a book in. I do listen to music a lot. Especially if I'm having like a really high or a really low. But if I'm just chilling, I love just like using my brain actively. I don't get a lot of time to read. And so Audible, I've been a reader on Audible for 15 years, since I was like freshman year of university. So yeah, that's not a plug. I love audiobooks and it's a great way to get a lot of reading done. So anyways, 3 books that I've already read this year are, I really got into Clara Parks and her memoirs. I just finished Knitlandia, which is like short essays of her travels around the world, which has been really great. I read that when I had the flu and was stuck at home and didn't leave my house for a week. And it was great to kind of explore the world with her. And then the first one I read by her though over Christmas break was, what is it called? Vanishing Fleece. Adventures in American Wool, which is I'm so jealous that like I didn't know about her at the time. She basically bought a whole bunch of wool and goes their process of she like meets a sheep farmer and she shears the sheep and then she figures out how to dye it, how to get it commercially spun, and then like gives it to people who kickstarted this whole process and like supported her as she was doing it. And then wrote this book off of this experience. And I think this just ties in so much to like spinning because as I'm learning to spin, I'm getting more interested in fiber and how it's made and different types of sheep. And so this was just really interesting to hear like all of how this whole process works from a commercial standpoint, as I'm learning how it works from like a basic household standpoint. I am actually, one of my next spins is I bought some BFL, probably, or Blue Faced Leicester, 3 or 4 months ago at this point when I was still learning. I'm like still very new into spinning, and I bought 500 grams and I dyed it with acid dye. I forget the company, but it's the one that everyone uses. I'll post it below. And I used like 75% of their russet red and then 25% black. And it created this beautiful, like dark mauve purple. And so I dyed all 500 grams of this mauve purple, and I'm going to spin it up with like little bits of leftover other colors. So like it'll kind of like mimic a Tweety effect. And my goal is to do a sport weight and knit another DRK sweater in this color. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm really into a purpley mode right now. Everything I'm making is purple, and it might stay that way for a while. So this is actually my next spin. So as I'm doing this for my household, like dyeing the wool and spinning it and then knitting it, she did this from like a commercial standpoint. I think she said she did like an actual ton of wool, like 2,000 pounds of wool. I think that's a ton, which is just insane. Like how long it takes me to do 500 grams will probably be like a month or two of spinning. But she obviously did commercially, but it was so interesting to hear about all these little small mom and pop businesses that she used. They're kind of like the last holdouts of American fiber production. So that was really interesting. And then the last one I read was actually another recommendation from one of you on my Knitting Books podcast that I did back in October. And that is a short history according to sheep by, who is that by? Sally Coulthard. And that was actually free on Audible for me, or it was like free with my Audible membership that I have. And this is the one that like sometimes my colleagues make fun of me when I'll be like sitting in meetings knitting, and I'll just like remind them that I read this recently, and they're just like, yeah, you're such a nerd. And I'm like, I know, and I loved it. It was so interesting. So thank you if you're one of the ones who recommended this to me. I loved it. And I also think it's really interesting concept to like learn about history through one specific animal, or like to learn about history through one town. Like I mentioned that museum that we went to with my family over the Christmas break, and it was basically like exploring the Middle Ages through one specific town in Germany. And so I just think that's a really unique and manageable way to like, like I want to learn more about history. Like that's such a broad topic, but to pick one specific thing and kind of like tell the history of that thing is such a cool concept. And like it talked about how sheep began, like what the first instances we have, or like recordings we have of sheep being like farmed animals or like kept by a shepherd. It talks about knitting and fiber production, and it was great. It's a very short book. It's only 6 hours. So it's like, I think I listened to it in 2 or 3 days just as I was knitting. And it was really fun and really nerdy, and I really enjoyed it. So those are 3 books that I read this month, in addition to all the other rom-coms I've been speeding through. And I really enjoyed it a lot, and I would recommend them if you're also into like nitty, nerdy reading like I am. So that's all I have for you today. I am so thankful if you were still here after all this rambling. I'm so thankful for you. A different book I read this month also talked about like the gift of attention is one of the greatest gifts. The gift of our attention is one of the greatest gifts we can give people. It was by a musician. Another memoir. I've also been reading a lot of memoirs this month, and I thought that was just such a lovely idea. Like the gift of attention is one of the greatest, most costly gifts we can give people, especially in today's day and age. So thank you for the gift of your attention. Like I truly mean that. Thank you for being here. I'm so thankful that you watched this and listened to my knitting ramblings. Have a lovely weekend. All the best to you. Stay warm, stay healthy, stay knitting. Bye.